Commander Kang stood on his bridge, watching as his fleet moved into position. 200 Vorax ships prepared for the final attack on Earth. It would be the largest assault in the war. "All ships report ready," his second-in-command said. Kang nodded. "Begin the attack. Show no mercy." The Vorax ships surged forward, weapons charged and ready. This time, they would not underestimate the humans. On Earth, Captain Han and General Park watched the enemy approach. "They're coming with everything they have left," Han said. General Park nodded. "And so will we." He pressed a button on his command table. "All defense forces, execute Plan Omega." Around Earth, hidden weapons platforms activated. They had been built in secret during the weeks of fighting. Each carried dozens of the improved sensory bombs that Dr. Kim had created. As the Vorax fleet entered range, the platforms fired. Thousands of bombs shot toward the enemy ships. "They're using the same trick," Kang said dismissively. "We've adapted our shields to block those weapons." But these bombs were different. Instead of exploding, they attached to the Vorax ships and began broadcasting on all frequencies a simple message, an image of the Vorax homeworld with human warships surrounding it. "What is this?" Kang demanded. His communications officer looked up in shock. "Sir, the humans have discovered the location of our homeworld, and they're claiming to have ships already there." Kang laughed. "Impossible. No human ship could reach our world so quickly." At that moment, Lieutenant Yun's voice came through on all Vorax channels. "Attention Vorax fleet. While you were focused on Earth, we sent our fastest ships to your homeworld. They carry planet killer bombs. Withdraw now, or we will do to your world what you plan to do to ours." On his ship, Kang roared in anger. "It's a bluff. Continue the attack." But then a new signal came through. It showed Elder Jun standing in the council chamber. "Commander Kang," the elder said, "the humans speak the truth. Their ships have been detected approaching our system. The council has voted. The war ends now." Kang couldn't believe what he was hearing. "We cannot surrender to prey." "Not surrender," Jun corrected. "Peace. I am coming to Earth to negotiate. You will stand down your fleet immediately." Kang's officers looked to him, waiting for orders. For a moment, he considered ignoring the council's command. But in the end, his loyalty to his species won out. "All ships, hold position," he ordered, his voice tight with rage. 3 days later, Elder Jun's ship arrived at Earth. He came with only a small escort, showing trust that surprised the humans. In a large meeting room, Jun faced General Park, Captain Han, Lieutenant Yun, and Dr. Kim. "For 10,000 years, the Vorax have conquered," Jun said. "We believed it was the natural order. Predators rule, prey serve, but humans have shown us something new. You are not the strongest or fastest, but you adapt faster than any species we have ever encountered." Dr. Kim spoke up. "That's our evolutionary advantage. Humans aren't specialized for one environment or one way of fighting. We change to meet new challenges." Jun nodded. "The Vorax Council has realized something important. If we continue this war, we might win today, but humans would adapt and come back stronger. Eventually, you would destroy us. So what do you propose?" General Park asked. "Alliance instead of conquest," Jun replied. "Humans and Vorax, working together, your adaptability and our strength. Together, we could be greater than either alone." Captain Han looked skeptical. "How can we trust you after you tried to destroy us?" "You can't," Jun said honestly. "Trust must be built. But I offer this first step." He handed them a data device. "This contains all Vorax technology and star charts, knowledge we have never shared with any species." Slowly, over the next months, an agreement was reached. The Vorax withdrew their fleet. Human representatives visited the Vorax homeworld. The beginning of trust formed between the species. Commander Kang was the last to accept the new reality. But when he finally met with Captain Han face to face, he said something unexpected. You humans taught the Vorax something we never knew, Kang admitted. Fear, but also respect. And perhaps, in time, friendship. Across the galaxy, other species watched in amazement. The great predators of the stars had been changed forever by the humans. Species that refused to accept its place as prey. Dr. Kim stood in her underground lab surrounded by military leaders. On the table in front of her sat what looked like a simple metal sphere. "This is our best chance," she said, pointing to the device. "I call it the sensory bomb." General Park picked up the sphere, weighing it in his hand. "What does it do?" "It attacks all 5 Vorax senses at once," Dr. Kim explained. "Light that blinds them, sound that hurts their ears, and chemicals that overload their sense of smell. It even sends out signals that confuse their navigation systems." Captain Han studied the device. "How many do you have?" 50 now. We can make 500 more in a week if every factory helps." General Park nodded. "Do it. And I want our best soldiers trained to deliver these bombs directly to Vorax ships." That night, Captain Han led a small team on a dangerous mission. They took Earth's newest stealth ship toward the main Vorax command vessel. Their ship was painted black and designed to absorb radar instead of reflecting it. "Remember," Han told his team, "we only get one chance at this. If we're caught, the entire plan fails." Lieutenant Yun sat at the controls. She had discovered a pattern in the Vorax patrol ships. Every 30 minutes, there was a 5-second gap in their sensor coverage. Approaching the gap in 3, 2, 1. Now. She pushed the ship forward at full speed. For 5 seconds, they flew straight toward the massive Vorax command ship. Then they cut engines and drifted the last few kilometers, using only small bursts of gas to guide them. The huge Vorax ship grew in their view screen. It was the size of a small city, covered in weapons and armor. There, Han pointed to a small opening, a waste disposal port. "Can you get us in there?" Yun nodded. With careful precision, she guided their ship into the narrow opening. They were inside the enemy's main vessel. Meanwhile, on the Vorax homeworld, Elder June faced an angry council. 120 ships lost, shouted a council member. For one planet of soft prey. Elder June stood his ground. "The humans are not like other prey. They change their tactics every day. When we block one of their weapons, they create a new one." "Sounds like excuses," another member hissed. "Perhaps Commander Kang is not fit to lead this hunt." "Kang is our best commander," Jun replied. "If he cannot conquer these humans, no one can." Back on his command ship, Commander Kang reviewed the latest battle plans. His fleet surrounded Earth now. The next attack would target the humans' largest cities. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "our sensors detect unusual activity in Defense Pattern 4. Kang studied the display. The humans appeared to be moving some of their ships away from Earth. "They're retreating," he said with satisfaction. "They finally understand they cannot win." But something didn't feel right. In all previous battles, the humans had fought hardest to protect their planet. Why would they pull ships away now? "Increase security on all decks," he ordered, "and scan our own ship for any anomalies." Inside the giant Vorax vessel, Captain Han and his team moved quietly through maintenance tunnels. They placed small devices at key locations, near the ship's engines, weapons systems, and communication arrays. "Last one," Han whispered, placing a sensory bomb near the ship's main power core. He set the timer for 30 minutes. "Now we get out of here before they go off." As they headed back to their ship, an alarm suddenly blared. A Vorax security team had found their entry point. "Run," Han ordered. They sprinted through the corridors, firing at any Vorax that appeared. 2 of Han's team fell to enemy claws, but the rest made it back to their ship. Lieutenant Yun started the engines. "The waste port is sealed now." "Then we make our own exit," Han said grimly. He fired the ship's main weapon at the inner hull, blasting a hole into space. "Go. Now." Their ship shot out of the Vorax vessel just as the first sensory bomb detonated. Behind them, Kang's mighty command ship began to shudder as chaos erupted inside. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Vorax experienced something new, the beginning of defeat. Captain Han led a small team through the dark corridors of the captured Vorax ship. After their successful counterattack, the humans had managed to board and secure one of the smaller enemy vessels. Now they searched for information that could help them win the war. "This way," Han said, following a map Lieutenant Yun had created. "Their main data center should be through here." The room they entered was filled with glowing screens and strange machines. Alien symbols flashed across the displays. "Can you read any of this?" Han asked one of his team members, a language expert. "Some of it," the woman replied. "I've been studying their language from the messages Lieutenant Yun intercepted." She worked at the controls while Han kept watch at the door. After several minutes, she gasped. "Captain, I found their historical records. You need to see this." Han looked at the screen. It showed images of dozens of planets, beautiful worlds with oceans, forests, and cities. Then the images changed to show the same planets burned and empty. "These are the worlds the Vorax conquered," the language expert explained. "Over 3,000 years, they destroyed 27 advanced civilizations." Han stared at the images in horror. "Download everything. We need to show this to Earth's leaders." Meanwhile, on the command ship, Commander Kang was finally regaining control. Engineers had repaired the worst damage, and his troops were ready to fight again. "Status report," he demanded. "The fleet has regrouped behind the moon," his second-in-command reported. "We lost 78 ships in the human attack." Kang could hardly believe the number. No enemy had ever destroyed so many Vorax vessels. "And the humans?" he asked. "They've pulled back to defend Earth. They appear to be waiting for our next move." Kang studied the tactical display. The humans had shown unexpected strength, but they were still outnumbered. Victory was still possible. "Prepare the remaining ships for a final assault," he ordered. "We will concentrate all our firepower on their largest cities. Once their population centers are destroyed, their will to fight will break." On Earth, Dr. Kim made an important discovery. She had been studying the biology of captured Vorax soldiers. "General Park," she said during an emergency meeting, "the Vorax evolved on a world very different from ours. Their bodies are specialized for hunting and killing." "We already know that," Park replied. "That's why they're winning." Kim shook her head. "No, you don't understand. Specialization has a weakness. The Vorax can't adapt quickly to new conditions. Humans, on the other hand, are adaptation specialists. We're not the best at anything, but we can change faster than any species." She showed him data comparing human and Vorax DNA. "Our genetic code allows for much more variation between generations. That's why we've been able to create new weapons and tactics so quickly. The Vorax take hundreds of years to adapt." General Park realized what this meant. If we can survive their next attack, we might actually win this war. At that moment, Captain Han returned from his mission. He brought the data from the Vorax ship directly to General Park. "Sir, the Vorax have destroyed dozens of civilizations," he reported. "They don't conquer to rule. They conquer to eliminate competition." Park studied the information. "This changes everything. We're not fighting for victory anymore. We're fighting for survival." He called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders to share what they had learned. At the same time, Lieutenant Yun made her own discovery. She had been tracing Vorax communication signals back to their source. "I found it," she told Captain Han. "I know where their homeworld is." Han looked at the star map she showed him. The Vorax homeworld was farther than any human ship had ever traveled, but not impossible to reach. "If we can threaten their home planet," he said slowly, "maybe they'll think twice about destroying ours." As both sides prepared for what might be the final battle, Elder Jun made a fateful decision. Against the wishes of the Council, he sent a secret message toward Earth. It contained one word in human language: peace. The great warship hung in the blackness of space like a metal shark. Its dark hull was covered with scars from 100 battles. Commander Kang stood on the bridge, his yellow eyes fixed on the view screen. His scaled skin gleamed under the harsh lights. "Another world to conquer," he said, showing his sharp teeth. "The glory of the Vorax will grow even greater." The Vorax had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They were born hunters with claws, fangs, and bodies built for killing. Their homeworld was harsh, and only the strongest survived. When they reached the stars, they found most aliens were soft and weak. The Vorax saw this as the natural way of things. Predators eat prey. On the Vorax homeworld, Elder June spoke to the council. The room was filled with the oldest and most powerful Vorax. Their scales had faded to gray, but their eyes were still sharp. "We have found a new world," Elder Jun said. His voice was rough from age. "The creatures there call themselves humans. Our early reports say they are weak but clever." One of the council members laughed, a harsh sound. "Clever prey is still prey." Elder Jun nodded. "Yes, their bodies are soft. No claws, no fangs, thin skin that tears easily. They will fall quickly." The council agreed. The humans would be conquered, like all others before them. Back on his ship, Commander Kang prepared his fleet. 500 warships, each filled with Vorax warriors eager for battle. They had never known defeat, never felt fear. "Commander," said his second-in-command, "the scout ships are ready to launch." Kang nodded. "Send them. I want to know everything about these humans before we attack." The scout ships were small and fast. They could hide from most sensors. 10 of them shot away from the fleet, heading toward the blue planet called Earth. Across the void of space, Captain Han of the Earth Space Defense Force stood in a control room. He was looking at a screen showing the edge of the solar system. "Sir, we're picking up strange readings near Neptune," said a young officer. Captain Han frowned. "What kind of readings?" "I'm not sure. They appeared for just a moment, then vanished. Could be a sensor glitch." Han didn't think it was a glitch. Something was out there. "Keep watching that area. Alert me if you see anything else." He walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Humans had only been in space for a short time. They had built stations around Earth and small colonies on the Moon and Mars. They had sent probes to the outer planets, but they had never met aliens. At that moment, Lieutenant Yun rushed into the room. "Captain, we've detected energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before." "Where?" Han asked. "They're moving through the asteroid belt now. Whatever they are, they're fast, and they seem to be hiding." Captain Han looked back at the stars. A feeling of dread settled in his stomach. "Alert all defense stations. Something's coming." On the lead scout ship, Sub-Commander Dai watched Earth grow larger on his screen. His tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Such a blue world," he said, "full of water and life. The Vorax will feast well here." His ship's sensors scanned the planet, gathering data about its defenses, its people, its weaknesses. "These humans have primitive weapons," one of his crew reported. "Their ships are slow. Their stations are poorly defended." Day nodded. "As expected. Send the data back to Commander Kang. Tell him the prey here is right for hunting." The scout ships continued their silent approach, invisible to most human sensors. The Vorax were coming, and they expected an easy victory. They had no idea what waited for them. Alarms blared throughout the Vorax command ship. Sensory bombs exploded one after another, filling corridors with blinding light and painful sound. Vorax soldiers stumbled blindly, their sensitive eyes and ears overwhelmed with pain. Commander Kang fought through the chaos to reach the bridge. Blood ran from his ears, and he could barely see. The bombs had been perfectly designed to target Vorax biology. "Status report," he shouted over the noise. "Main weapons offline," an officer reported. "Engines damaged. Communications disrupted." Kang growled in fury. How did they get aboard our ship? Our security is the best in the galaxy. No one had an answer. The humans had done the impossible again. On Earth, General Park gathered his forces. With the Vorax command ship crippled, now was the time to strike back. All Earth defense ships, launch now, he ordered. Target the Vorax fleet while they're confused. Around the planet, hundreds of ships rose from hidden bases. Some were old vessels repaired after earlier battles. Others were new ships built in secret underground factories. All carried Dr. Kim's sensory bombs. The plan is simple, General Park told his commanders. We attack their fleet while they're disorganized. Captain Han will lead the main assault. Lieutenant Yun's intelligence team will continue to disrupt their communications. Captain Han stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the Vengeance. It carried the most powerful weapons humans had ever built. All ships, form attack pattern Delta, he ordered. Remember your training. Hit them with the sensory bombs first, then strike with everything you have. The human fleet approached the confused Vorax ships. Without clear orders from Commander Kang, the Vorax vessels were not working together. Some fired at the approaching humans, but their shots were poorly aimed. The first wave of human ships released thousands of sensory bombs. They floated through space like small stars before attaching to Vorax hulls and detonating. Ship after ship fell silent as their crews were incapacitated by the sensory attacks. Second wave. Attack now, Han ordered. The larger human warships moved in, firing their main weapons at the disabled Vorax vessels. Explosions lit up space as the mighty Predator ships began to fall. In her command center, Lieutenant Yun monitored Vorax communications. They're trying to regroup near Mars, she reported, but their signals are confused. They keep changing orders. She typed rapidly on her keyboard, sending false Vorax commands through the channels she had hacked. Some Vorax ships were now firing on each other, thinking they were attacking humans. For the first time since the war began, the humans were winning. On the Vorax homeworld, Elder June called an emergency meeting of the Council. We have lost contact with Commander Kang, he reported gravely, and our fleet is taking heavy damage. The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. This had never happened before. The Vorax had conquered 1,000 worlds without serious resistance. Now they were losing ships by the dozens. The humans must have some secret weapon, one council member suggested. No, Elder June said quietly. Their weapon is their mind. They adapt faster than any species we have ever encountered. They learn from every defeat and come back stronger. Another council member slammed a clawed hand on the table. Then we must destroy their planet now. Use the planet killer weapons. June shook his head. That would be a mistake. For the first time in our history, we face a species that might be our equal. Perhaps we should consider peace. The word hung in the air like a curse. The Vorax had never sought peace. They were conquerors, predators who took what they wanted. Back in Earth orbit, Captain Han watched as another Vorax ship exploded. His fleet had destroyed over 50 enemy vessels, but many more remained. They're pulling back, reported his second-in-command, retreating to the far side of the moon. Han nodded. Don't chase them. Regroup and prepare for their counterattack. This war isn't over yet. But for the first time, he allowed himself to feel hope. Humans were pushing back the galaxy's greatest predators. The impossible was becoming possible. 2 weeks after the first battle, the Vorax returned. This time, they brought their full fleet. 500 warships moved toward Earth like a swarm of angry hornets. Commander Kang stood on his bridge, his eyes cold with anger. The humans surprised us once. It will not happen again. He had studied the first battle carefully. His ships now had new shields that could block the humans' electromagnetic pulses. His weapons had been adjusted to target the small, fast human fighters. We have adapted, he told his officers, as predators always do. On Earth, General Park met with his command team. Captain Han and Lieutenant Yun showed the images of the approaching Vorax fleet. There are too many, General Park said softly. We cannot win a direct fight. Then we don't fight directly, Captain Han replied. We've been working on a new plan. He showed a map of the space around Earth. We've placed mines in the asteroid belt. When the Vorax pass through, we detonate them. Not to destroy their ships, but to push asteroids into their path. General Park looked doubtful. Will that work? It won't stop them, Han admitted, but it will split their fleet as they dodge the asteroids. Then we can attack smaller groups. It was a desperate plan, but they had no better options. In her laboratory, Dr. Kim made an important discovery. She had been studying the dead Vorax from the ships destroyed in the first battle. Their eyes can see in darkness better than ours, she told General Park over a secure line. But they are 10 times more sensitive to bright light, and their hearing is so good they can hear a whisper from 50 meters away. How does this help us? Park asked. I've created special flash bombs and sound weapons, Kim said. They won't hurt humans much, but they will cause terrible pain to the Vorax. As the Vorax fleet approached the asteroid belt, Captain Han gave the order. Hundreds of explosions pushed asteroids into new paths. Just as planned, the Vorax fleet split up to avoid the flying rocks. Attack pattern Alpha, Han ordered. Target the isolated ships first. Earth's remaining fighters launched from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. They carried Dr. Kim's new weapons. The first group of human ships approached a cluster of 10 Vorax vessels. The Vorax fired immediately, destroying 3 human ships, but the others got close enough to release their flash bombs. The bombs exploded with light brighter than the sun and noise that vibrated the hulls of the ships. Inside the Vorax vessels, the aliens screamed in pain as their sensitive eyes and ears were overwhelmed. For 30 crucial seconds, the Vorax couldn't see to aim their weapons. The human ships fired everything they had, damaging 4 Vorax ships badly enough that they drifted out of control. Similar attacks happened across space. The humans couldn't match Vorax firepower, but they could blind and deafen them long enough to strike. Still, the Vorax were too many. For every ship they lost, they destroyed 3 human vessels. Slowly but surely, they pushed toward Earth. Fall back to orbital defense position, General Park ordered. Prepare ground defenses. They're coming. On the Vorax homeworld, Elder Jun received disturbing reports. The conquest of Earth was taking too long and costing too many ships. Other members of the council questioned his judgment. Why are we wasting resources on this planet? Asked one old Vorax. There are easier worlds to conquer. Because the humans are different, Jun replied. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered. If we don't defeat them now, they might become a real threat. Back in space, Commander Kang watched Earth grow larger on his view screen. The blue planet had cost him 80 ships already. No prey had ever fought back so effectively. The humans have earned my respect, he told his second-in-command. But respect won't save them. We will break through their defenses tomorrow. And then we will show them why the Vorax have ruled the stars for so long. Little did he know that on Earth, Dr. Kim was working on her greatest weapon yet, one that would change the war forever. The Vorax attack began with a roar of engines. 100 warships moved toward Earth's orbital defenses. The rest stayed back, watching. Commander Kang was so sure of victory that he only sent part of his fleet. This will be over quickly, he told his officers. Their satellites and stations will fall first. Then we will burn their cities until they beg to serve us. Earth's space stations prepared for the attack. Soldiers strapped into fighter ships. Weapons powered up. Captain Han stood on the bridge of Earth's largest warship, the Defender. All ships, hold position around the stations, he ordered. Let them come to us. Lieutenant Yun worked at her console nearby. Sir, the enemy ships are moving faster than anything we've seen before. Our weapons may not be able to lock onto them. Han nodded. Then we won't try to chase them. We'll create a field of fire they have to fly through. The Vorax ships reached the outer defense line. Their weapons fired bright green beams that cut through the first human satellites like paper. Debris scattered across space. "First wave, launch now," Captain Han ordered. Small fighter ships shot from Earth's stations. They were much smaller than the Vorax vessels, but quicker to turn. They flew in tight formations, moving in patterns the Vorax had never seen before. "What are they doing?" asked one of Kang's officers. "Their ships are too small to harm us." The human fighters didn't attack directly. Instead, they released thousands of tiny metal pieces into the path of the Vorax ships. The small objects didn't show up on Vorax sensors. When the Vorax ships hit the cloud of metal at high speed, their hulls were damaged. Some lost control and spun away. Others had their weapons knocked offline. "Clever prey," Kang growled, but not clever enough. He ordered his ships to slow down and use their long-range weapons instead. On the Defender, Captain Han saw the Vorax changing tactics. "They're staying back and using their big guns," he told his crew. "That's what we wanted. Lieutenant Yun, are you ready?" Yun nodded. For days, she had studied the Vorax communication signals. "Their ships all receive orders on the same frequency," she said, "and their systems aren't well protected against outside signals." She pressed a button, sending a specially designed pulse toward the Vorax fleet. It was an electromagnetic pulse, tuned to the exact frequency the Vorax used. In space, 20 Vorax ships suddenly lost power. Their lights flickered and engines died. The human fighters swooped in, firing all weapons at the disabled ships. 3 Vorax vessels exploded. It was the first time in 1,000 years that Vorax ships had been destroyed in battle. On his command ship, Kang roared in anger. "How is this possible? Their weapons should be useless against our shields." "Sir," an officer reported, "they targeted ships while our shields were resetting after the pulse. I've never seen this tactic before." Kang slammed his clawed hand on his chair. "Send in 30 more ships. Destroy their stations." The battle raged for hours. Vorax ships blasted human stations, killing hundreds. But the humans fought back in ways the Vorax didn't expect. When a Vorax ship got close to a station, the humans sometimes abandoned the station after setting it to explode when the Vorax came near. By the end of the day, 40 Vorax ships had been destroyed or damaged. The Vorax had never lost so many ships in a single battle. "Commander," his second-in-command said quietly, "perhaps we should retreat and form a new strategy." Kang wanted to keep fighting, but he knew his officer was right. "Signal the fleet to pull back. We will regroup at the moon." As the Vorax ships retreated, cheers erupted throughout Earth's remaining defenses. They had survived the first attack. On the Defender, Captain Han looked at the cost. 2 stations destroyed, 15 ships lost, hundreds dead. "They'll be back," he said. "And next time, they'll be ready for our tricks." Lieutenant Yun nodded. "Then we'll need better tricks." The Vorax scout ships slipped into Earth orbit under the cover of their cloaking shields. From this height, they could see the blue oceans and green lands of the human world. Sub-Commander Day watched the planet turn below. "Look at how they cluster in cities," he said to his crew, "like herd animals waiting to be taken." On Earth, Lieutenant Yun sat at her monitoring station. Her eyes were tired from staring at screens for 12 hours straight. Something wasn't right. The sensors kept showing brief flickers in orbit, but nothing solid. "Captain Han," she called. "I'm still getting those strange readings. They appear for a split second, then vanish." Captain Han looked over her shoulder at the screen. "Could be space debris." Yun shook her head. "Debris doesn't move against orbit, sir. Whatever these are, they're powered, and they're watching us." In his scout ship, Sub-Commander Dyke prepared the capture teams. "We need specimens to study. Take 5 humans from different regions. Choose isolated areas where they won't be missed." The Vorax soldiers nodded. They were smaller than Da, but just as deadly. Each had claws that could tear through metal and jaws that could crush bone. They wore light armor and carried stun weapons. "Remember," Daz said, These are study specimens. Don't damage them too badly." The soldiers laughed. To them, humans were just another form of prey. That night, a small Vorax ship landed in a forest in northern Canada. 2 hunters stepped out, their yellow eyes glowing in the dark. They moved silently between the trees until they found a cabin. Inside, a lone human was sleeping. The door broke easily under their strength. The human woke and reached for a weapon, but the Vorax were too fast. Their stun weapon fired, and the human fell back unconscious. "Too easy," one hunter said, picking up the limp form. "This species will not give us a good hunt." Similar scenes played out in remote areas across Earth. A fisherman in Norway, a hiker in New Zealand, a ranger in Kenya, and a researcher in Antarctica. 5 humans taken in one night with barely a trace left behind. The next morning, Dr. Kim examined the cabin in Canada. She was the top scientist for the Earth Defense Force, called in because of the strange evidence left behind. "The door was broken from the outside," she said to Captain Han, who had flown in to see for himself. "The Force needed to do this." She shook her head. "No human could do it." "What about these?" Han pointed to strange marks on the floor. Dr. Kim knelt down. "Claw marks. Like an animal, but the pattern suggests a foot with 4 toes and opposable thumbs." She looked up at Han. "Whatever took this man walked on 2 legs and had hands with claws." In orbit, Sub-Commander Day watched as his scientists examined the captured humans. The specimens were kept in clear cells, awake now and afraid. "Their physical strength is minimal," the chief scientist reported. "Their senses are dull. They have no natural weapons." He displayed scans on a screen. "But their brains show unusual activity. And their technology, while crude, shows cleverness." Day studied the humans. They looked so weak with their soft skin and dull teeth, yet something about them made him uneasy. "What about their weapons?" he asked. "Primitive projectile weapons and basic energy weapons. Nothing that can harm our ships." Day nodded slowly. "Prepare your report for Commander Kang. Tell him the humans will be easy prey, but their technology should be studied before we destroy it." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Yun burst into Captain Han's office. "Sir, we've detected transmissions from orbit to deep space, definitely not human in origin. Can you decode them?" Han asked. "No, but we traced where they're going." She placed a star chart on his desk. "Something big is out there, sir, and it's coming our way." Captain Han's face grew grim. "Then we need to prepare, because I don't think they're coming to make friends."